a meaningful career, combining skills, values, and opportunities that exist in different. Next one. Now, first for us to know that the career, when we're talking about the career, is just more than a job. It's not just a title. We must understand that it's a continuous process of growth and development, and it will task you. It will task a lot of your own skills. It will task a lot of your own inherent abilities, and therefore that require self-awareness and strategy to avoid drifting. I've met postgraduate students. One of them is now in the East, who started from Ibadan. He went from one institute to another, and every little encounter like this, he runs away. Every little encounter, he runs away. Have you noticed that there are some very good first-class brains that they don't make a good career? Why? The problem many of them do have is that they don't choose career that matches their intellectual capacity. So they choose career path that they conquer very easily. The career path is so easy, the engagement is so easy, and as a result, they get frustrated, they abandon that, they go and start something else. They get frustrated, they abandon that, and they go and start something. And they are very persuasive that they were right in what they are doing, but the problem they had was just that they did not choose a career that matches their intellectual endowment, and as a result of that, they get easily frustrated. They may be very good critique, and we have them as colleagues too. Some of them have stagnated, maybe as lecturer one and senior lecturer. But when you talk to them, you respect their brain, but they are not making academic progress. Sometimes it's because of this. Next slide. So when we have such situation, this is just to show us that one, you need self-awareness, just a summary of what I said in the previous slide. Self-awareness, you need direction, you need strategy, and of course, next slide, there has to be a growth trajectory. So let's start with academic route. I've mentioned the need for career progression, and you eventually go up to become a professor. And sometimes it's not only professorship if you take the research pathway. Of course, some of the benefits, you have this intellectual freedom. You can choose whatever kind of endeavor or line of thought, and it's embedded in what we call the academic freedom. The academic freedom is not about coming to office anytime that you like, any day that you like. No, that's not academic. It's the same pool of people that sometimes you forget that you have grown older. You want to relate like them, and sometimes I feel like I'm their generation, but at the same time I realize that I'm not their generation because the way they think. But that's one of the peculiarity of our job till you will retire. The majority of the people you are dealing with are these teenagers transiting to early adults, and you have that. But it's quite challenging for us because academic without funding. Funding is what brought us here together, because we all have enjoyed funding from the German government. But in the context of Nigeria, it can be limiting. Of course, there's still competition, but now you have several federal universities of science and technology, environment and agriculture, health sciences and all this. So that might have reduced. And of course, to be successful in the academic endeavor and engagement, you need to develop your grantsmanship skills. You need to know how to source for grants. You need to learn how to build collaborations, because I don't have all the facilities, you don't have all the facilities. There are things I have others don't have. There are plants I've been looking for that I want to work on their seed biology, but they are only available in the South-South. They are not available in the Southwest or Northeast or anywhere else. And I'm not in the South-South. If I want to work on that, I have to collaborate, okay? And there are areas where, we bring complementary skills that we have to. So we need to build collaboration. And irrespective of the level that we are, We need to do what? We need to find mentors. Mentorship is not only for young people. Okay? Mentorship is not only for early career researchers. When I became vice chancellor, I'm in my 4th year as vice chancellor. I had to look for people who could talk to me. Now I've just hired a consultant, and I said, look, I've spent over 30 years as a lecturer, and I'm transiting from being vice chancellor. What's the best use for my time? Of course, my passion is to go to classroom, but what are other areas where I could benefit society? So there are people who watch over me and say, oh, we want to be sure that you are doing well. There are people that we are accountable to, irrespective of. So it's very important that as an academic, you need to find mentors. Next level. Of course, it will be different. What you'll be doing for early career researchers when you are mentoring them is not what you will be doing. Next slide. There's no way you will advance in leadership that you won't need mentor. There are also research institutes. These are just to name a few. Lecture Research Institute is there. Rubber Research Institute, a closer one to us in Umudike. We have National Agricultural Seed Council. They have an office here in Umudike. There are several universities, several research institutes, and of course, NRF, IBR, they are all funding sources. ARUA, SECO is there. African Academy of Sciences is offering a lot of funding. I do know that there are European early career grants, but there are also grants for experienced researchers. So there are several of them, but we need to be able to align whatever our research focus or priorities are with the country's need. We can do research for the sake of research. We can publish and get promotion, and our research may not have impact. But when you look at Taiwo Yedele, the chairman of the Presidential Committee on, I think, Tax or something, he's an academic, but somebody who is regarded as a taxman across Africa. I think Babcock or so is the university where he is. But he also worked with PCW. But somebody who is recognized as an authority on tax and fiscal matters. And that you are not likely to get a better person than him across Africa. So that's the kind of thing that sometimes our research must align with national priority. Next slide. So we have this kind of opportunities across the landscape in our country. Beside academic, you can be a researcher and decide to go through the industry route. Our colleagues who are in the health sciences, pharmaceutical sciences, many of you we know, some of your own colleagues. Professor Deku mentioned a German friend yesterday who eventually had to go to industry. There are people with PhD degrees who are working in industry. You find them, especially in food manufacturing companies, they are in quality control. They are, and you hardly will find some of these pharmaceutical companies who are not collaborating with professors in universities and all those kind of things. Even though it's very weak in Nigeria, it's nonetheless a possibility that you can do that. The main area in industry, unlike what we have in academics, we said is a shift from publishing to problem solving. Okay? And in industry, we transform research into real-world solutions. And I give an example. Thamatococcus danieli, which is the leaf, I don't know what you call it in this part of the country, the leaf that we use to wrap moi moi. The most important part for me is the fruit. And the fruit is 3,000 times or so sweeter than sugar. And the sweetener is a glycoprotein, it's not carbohydrates. So if you go to raw material research industry now, I mean, for us as academics, many of us have worked on it, we have found out tomatin is good and all those kind of things, and that's how we have published, we have gone away. But the man in industry is thinking of how to convert the sweetener to drink for diabetic. How to make a product out of that. Those of us in chemistry and all these things will do all our chromatographic studies and characterize the compound and write beautiful paper, get citations, get invited, get recognition, get funded. But then the man in the industry is saying, look, this is a product. How do I offer it to people? Okay? So that's the thing. And your key roles in industry, you can be an R&D scientist, or a data analyst, or an innovation manager. And of course, unlike academic, in that instance, you have to work with a team. You have to work, for example, if you identify, say, Thomatin is here, it's a drink for diabetic, and somebody will come, okay, what about the stability? What about the shelf life? Is it more stable in bottles or in plastics? How does it respond under ambient condition and under refrigerated condition? I'm a seed biologist, and I know that when you carry your seed, if I take a seed here now and I take it to Lagos, if you take it by land, the same set of lots, if you take it by land, by the time you land in Lagos, it's not the same if you take it by air. When you fly the seeds and you take it by road, by the time you get to Lagos, you have had totally different materials. So, as a seed biologist, I'm interested in, okay, how do I package it to minimize the effects? If you keep it in refrigerated condition or you keep it in ambient condition, it's not the same. If you keep it here for a long time, the seed will have stabilized. But if you kept it in freezer and you bring it out, within 1 week, you will see a sharp decline. Even though by nature they will have stored better under the cold refrigerated condition. But because you had exposed them to conditions totally different to what they had been used to, you are going to have that kind of thing. So if it's a product, so for seed companies, it's always a challenge. I've been called to mitigate in litigations. Farmers will buy from the seed sellers and the crop will be bad, and they will then sue the seed seller. And the seed seller will then come and hire me and say, come and defend me. Prove to the court that I'm not responsible for the damage. And the farmer will also come, prove to the court that the seed. So if you are a seed scientist, it's not only in lab that you can make money. You can go to court as what? An expert witness. So we have things like that. You need to collaborate. You need to commercialize. The process of commercialization is not that easy. But you need to learn that. Strategic communication. Next slide. So these are the roles that you have. What are the areas where we can find relevance? Next slide is the same. Next one. So there are different areas in agri-tech, which is my own area. Biotech, some of us here are biotech scientists, but you also know that in biotech. Some of us know Katampe. Ibrahim Katampe, I think somebody mentioned him. Those of us who have got for TED Fund training during Professor Bogoro and up to now, you will have met Katampe, Ibrahim Katampe. He left from ABU and relocated to the US. Katampe has a lot of patents, and he's a color chemist, if I may use that. And he borrowed a lot of things from Chameleon that you have. And I know one of the patents he has for the US Army. Now, if he comes to Nigeria, they are monitoring him. If he enters this place now, in another 2 minutes, somebody will call him from the US. What are you doing there? We saw that you just left Zaria, you came to Nsukka. If he left here now, he will get a call. What did you, where are you in? You left Enugu, you just got to Nsukka. What are you doing there? Because he has a lot of patents. One of the patents is that if you throw a biological warfare at the US Army, the uniform will change color. Yeah. The uniform will change color immediately. By that, they know that they have been biologically attacked. So that's a product. But many of us, our something ends in something. So we have biotech, ICT, energy, fintech, and of course, you have NITDA, NASENI, several private labs that we have. And We know Onitsha is a commercial hub, but we also know that there are a lot of manufacturing that is going on around this part of the country. Of course, as entry points, internships, and for many of us who are academics, there will always be consulting opportunities. But many of us are not active in the consulting space, particularly those of us who are professors. And it's also a very strong area. There are startups. There are now a lot of startup companies. Next slide. So these are just examples. Next slide. Next slide. The third one is policy route. So how do we take evidences, validated evidences, how do you turn them into action? And we have an opportunity to make impact. It's a weak area, but in other climes, research usually informs governance, planning, and regulation at national level. I have been participating in JAMB admission policy meetings since 2017 to date. There is none that I have missed. So when we finish that, I aggregate all the data to say, Imo State, do we have anybody from Imo State? Imo State is the leading state in terms of JAMB application in the Southeast. Oyo State is the leading one in Southwest and in Nigeria. In 2017, Oyo State was number 3. In 2018, Oyo State was number 2. 2019 to date, Oyo State has maintained number 1 lead in terms of JAMB application. And I don't think there's any state that has surpassed Imo State, because I have all the record. And from 2020, we saw an increasing number of female applications than male across several states, including nearly all the states of the Southeast. So these are evidences that should inform our planning and tell us that we need to hire more female teachers. Because it's going to be a challenge if we have many more female students at secondary level or at wanting to go to university and we don't have it. When I was DVC, I would sit down, I would look at the data, and I realized that more than 70% of students in the Department of Microbiology were female. And we did not have more than 2 female staff. I had to draw the attention of Vice Chancellor, and I said, look, for advisory purposes, we need to increase the ratio of female teachers in microbiology department on the strength of this evidence. So we have that. Those are policy matters that would then say that, or what we call affirmative actions. So when we have such evidence, I'm giving those evidences on the basis of what I know. And then every year, I send an advisory to the Oyo State government. Oyo State government, these are patterns that we are observing, that Oyo State has maintained the lead. And what does that mean? The competition that an average Oyo State indigene faces is far higher. When you combine Jigawa, when you combine Zamfara, when you combine FCT, the least 5 states, together with FCT, combine all of them together, they are not up to half of the number of applicants from Oyo State. So, and all these other universities, they do what? Other states, they have state university, they have federal university. So when they are talking of quota, Oyo State is at a disadvantage. It is either they establish their own state or they have to do something internally and all those kind of things. They have to find a way of easing access. Otherwise, by way of proportion, they will be at a disadvantage. So we can have roles as policy advisor. In the US, when you hear of policy advisor, you know that the role of scientific policy advisor is very, very strong. But here we don't have many of them. But there are quite a number of people. When you think of Ruben Abati, he's a public commentator, but he's also an intellectual. When you think of the current chairman of the Civil Service Commission, Dr. Tunji Olaopa, there are very, when you talk of, what's his name in Lagos? Lagos Business School. Patutomi. They are intellectuals, but you see that they are more visible in what? In the policy arena. Okay? So they are more visible in that. Policy analysis, communication, of course, stakeholder engagement. Next slide. So those are areas where we can make impact. So as we round up, okay, these are areas where we can make policy. When you think of things like African Union, you think of NITDA, Pet Fund, and all this, and areas of entry are policy briefs, government projects, and consultancies. Next slide. So as we wrap up, across whether academic policy or the industry route, I've said something about communication. These are cross-cutting. We all need it. Digital literacy. Gone are the eras where people used to analyze data and form an opinion. One of my very good indulgences is after I have collected data as a biologist, I will sit down. This is just biometry. What is the biology behind the biometry? I can spend a lot of time pasting the data, studying, asking, interrogating before I come up with writing. And leadership, of course. All of us at one time or the other, we have to work with others and cultivate the habit of problem solving, and we need to be adaptable. All through life, there's something to learn. And if we have the vision without action, there's no impact that we can make. But as Mandela said, it is action combined with our vision that can change the world. Next slide. So Nigeria needs you. These are 3 complementary pathways, and each one offers unique impact, and you choose the one that best fits your strengths, your situations, as well as your aspirations. Next slide. And that should be the last. Okay. So if you build your career map, I've said a lot about this. Your strength and your interest. Seek mentors and shadow professionals in your field. I like some of the comments that was made in the opening session. And what are the short term, medium term? Some of us may say, I just want to be in the university to do what? To earn my higher degree. You'll find that people will say, oh, I used to be an academic and I left. Some of them went into politics, some of them into journalism. And we need to develop skill and track our progress using different social media platforms, as was enumerated to us yesterday. Next slide. And Nigeria needs you. Not all of us should japa. Okay? And the Nigeria innovation ecosystem demands researchers, whether in academia, whether in industry, whether in policy, that connect ideas to action. And again, Nigeria needs you. Thank you very much. Last slide.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, let's put our hands together for him again. We'll take the questions after the next session. So I want to call on the next speaker. That is Professor Chinwe Okoyuezo. Let's put our hands together for her. She's going to tell us about how we can build transferable skills and how we can identify mentors and collaborators. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I would like to start on already established protocols. Yeah, ICT, please, my slide. I have 2 major tasks. One is to talk on building transferable skills, and the second one is also on mentoring, okay? Transferable skills, that's our initial, our takeoff. So building transferable skills for early careers in academia, because these skills can actually come at different stages, okay? We might look at it for undergraduates when we are dealing with the young ones. We also can look at it from the perspective of young careers, and of course the approach will be different, okay? So let's move on. Next slide, please. So the bridge between what you do now and what you can become next, that's actually what we are looking at. So we are looking at that bridge, what you will be and what you're already something. That's why we are talking about the early careers. You're already in academics. You've already established to a large extent. So we are talking about what's the next role. So creative thinking, you can see the illustration there. transferable skills. What are these skills? One beautiful thing about this workshop is that the topics are somehow interwoven. We move from one to the other. So if you have listened to our last speaker, the Vice Chancellor, he actually enumerated some of these transferable skills. He identified them as essential skills, but I'm going to get into them in a way that will go home with a lot. It's not just about theoretical preaching. We are going to go home with lots of practical things, right? So we are saying creative thinking, communication skill, technical or digital skills, teamwork and collaboration, analytical and problem-solving skills. So when you think about all this, you keep asking yourself, how am I going to relate with this? Where are they relevant? How do I need them to improve? Remember what we are saying. You're already somewhere, you're already somebody, but we are going somewhere. Next slide, please. Strategies for growth. Why do you think we need this growth? It's always easy to say that, yes, I've arrived. But to what extent? So when you compare where you are and where you should be, one thing I normally tell my students is that if you have the potential, if God has given you the talent to make a 100%, 70% is a pass mark for you. So for some of us that may think that we've done so well, we've actually achieved a lot, we are saying that we can do better than this, right? So they are these transferable skills, they are skills that are portable. Abilities that move with you from one role, from one project, from one environment to another. So when we talk about transferable skills, these are skills that when you acquire them, they are portable, you move. Okay, when you're here, they are relevant. When you move to another stage in your life, they are relevant. When you move to another sector of development, they are relevant. So they move with you because they are essentials. You can't just pick them and just drop. It's not like as it was in the beginning. You pick them and then it moves with you. So they are invisible traits that tie your teaching, your research, your collaboration, and leadership together. So something is somewhere hiding. They are not visible, but you possess them. And because you have them, you excel. Next slide, please. So these are skills that retain their value wherever you go. They are not just relevant in your immediate environment. If you take them and, Prof advised us that Japa may not be the only way, but then if you have them and even when you move, you excel. So they are not restricted by boundaries. So you have them, you are everywhere. Communication. For us that are in academics, for young careers, if I have these skills, if I've managed to acquire those skills, and I'm discussing communication, for you, what should that be? Remember I said, transferable skills can actually, we can present it in different formats. We can use it to reach out to different audience, depends on who you are relating with. So you as a young career in academics, if you acquire the skill of communication, what is that for you? So explaining complex ideas clearly to different audiences. You know, in the scripture, we talk about speaking in tongues. So you can also speak in tongues. And when we talk about speaking in tongues, I'm not talking about speaking in strange voice that people will not understand. But I know my audience. When I'm talking to my audience, I'll come to their level. Just like people will tell you that if you're publishing, who are you publishing for? Okay, if you're writing and you're a statistician and you're writing and I'm to read it and I don't understand any single jargon, you're not communicating. So the transferable skill of knowing how to communicate means that you'll be able to reach out to your audience. If you're speaking with the market women and you need to talk to them, you can't just come and begin to tell them, well, this is Professor whoever. Sorry, at the end of the presentation, you just go home because you have not actually related well. It also happens in some of the lecturers, some of us lecturers, even in the class, you see yourself presenting and you're teaching and the students are not following. At the end of the day, you feel that you're just here and they're there. So being able to communicate is a skill. And it's something that we have to be intentional in developing it. Because at the end of the day, we'll keep talking about having unemployable graduates. Sometimes we need to ask ourselves a vital question. Have we actually done what is needful? Teaching the way we should be able to teach so that they will be able to assimilate. Critical thinking and problem solving, the foundation of research excellence. For the past, 24 hours or so, we've been talking about way forward. How do we deepen our research? How do we get into that? How do we become the best? Of course, sometimes when I enter the class, before I want to teach, I'll tell them, be all you can be. So it's like a slogan. So if we are saying be all you can be in the course of our presentation, in the course of our whatever, that means we need to think deep. So critical thinking sets the stage. Because if you don't have what it takes to come out with initiative, you depend only on AI. Sorry about that. Yeah, but if you be able to think, sometimes you think out of the box and a number of ideas will come. And even when they ask you that if in research you need to deepen your literature review and all that, is for you to identify the gaps. So if you cannot get into critical thinking, ideas will come and pass. You look at them, the same document that you looked at, and nothing, you're unable to come out with something. Another person will look at that particular document and ideas will be coming up. I remember sometimes that when I work with my research team, where I have a group of people that I work with, sometimes we may share a document and say, read the documents and let's have a meeting. And then when we come, we said, okay, can we deliberate? Let's brainstorm. How can we approach that? What gap are we feeling? If we look at our environment, what new perspective are we going to take? Because sometimes we don't invent the wheel. It's about discussing the already information and maybe bringing it to your own environment in terms of geography and all that. And they will, sometimes people will not, we've looked at it, this paper is a bit dry and all that. Then maybe by the time we begin to discuss, you raise one point and another point and another point, and at the end of the day, from one document, more than 6-7 topics, and wow, this is amazing. So critical thinking is one skill that we must learn to have. Teamwork and collaboration, essential in multidisciplinary projects and grants. Why are we saying that? Okay, if you look at that, you said you need to acquire the knowledge. That's the whole effort that you've made for yourself. You've gone to school, done your undergraduate, your postgraduate, and all that in terms of interaction, meeting with people. You've developed yourself. The knowledge is there. Then when you adapt these transferable skills, you're moving forward because you're saying that you can't be static. You're starting somewhere, but you're advancing. And at the end of it all, if you see that illustration, the impact is larger because you're going to impact. You're going to influence life. You're going to transform the next generation. I was discussing with some of the people that I met here, and I was saying that one of the things that gives joy as a lecturer is, especially when you're dealing with the undergraduate, that you see yourself transforming life, especially if you're involved in a number of things that they do. You see them, you watch them like your own children, you watch them grow, you watch them mature, and sometimes even when they have left the institution, if you're in good relationship with them, they keep getting back to you, and you see their progression path. I don't know, there's this kind of self-fulfillment, and that is impact. In my institution, when I became the head of department, I developed something. I call it like School Over What Next. We have a LinkedIn page. So what do I do with them? Before they graduate, we always have a group thing, preparing them for life after school. And is stressing these transferable skills has always been our foundation. One thing that keeps me flying, every time I look at it and I feel like, oh my goodness, I think I'm in the right career, is when I look at their success story. Sometimes they get to the page and they post it. They will now say that, okay, it was at the point of graduation that we picked this interest, and you cannot believe we've been hired. You cannot believe we are here. So that's impact. So an academic with no impact and not being intentional about giving this impact, I think it's essential that we pay attention to this workshop. We have learned, we've developed research interests, and we are saying that we are not just keeping it there. We need to pick these skills so that we can change the narratives. Let's have the next slide. So, okay, leadership and initiative. For us to have that, you see that in supervising students. Yesterday, during the workshop, she made a comment, and I was a bit moved, and I had to approach her after the session. She said something that she was a bit passionate about, maybe happened to a friend of hers or something, that sometimes you have some of these professors that are not there for their students. I was touched. I'm not doubting, I'm not disputing what she has said, but then it calls for re-examination. It's something that will, set us thinking. If you're not there for your students, sorry, why are you a professor? Okay? So if you cannot supervise, we are not saying that you know it all, because also we keep learning. There's so much you can even learn from the younger generation. No doubt about that. Sometimes when they get to my office or when we have our interactive section, I will always like, Gen Z was on board. And then we'll laugh. So there are so much you can pick from them. But what you cannot do is not to provide the foundational guideline. At least you start from the theoretical ones that you know, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be. So let them lead the way to the new direction and new dimension. So when we have people that cannot, okay, I mean, it's obvious that we are not getting it right in terms of that leadership and initiative. Okay? Okay, again, also leading community outreach. So time management, balancing teaching loads, research deadlines, and personal growth. Yesterday again, while the presentations were going on, I can't remember who spoke, but at the end of that session, there were interactions and people came up with lots of concerns. And I picked one of them because someone said that, okay, when you're given a responsibility as a young career, maybe the role of head of department or exam officer, and all those things are weighty, okay, because they take your time. How can you grow academically? And I mean, Professor Cynthia said balance. Yeah, balance is important. But again, I want to say something. If you're intentional about where you're going, no matter the workload that is given to you, you have your goal, you have your mission. And one way to achieve that is time management. If you know how to manage your time, because many of us also pass through that route. Of course, coming out outright to tell them that I won't handle this, you already, I don't know, you understand what I mean. Our society be one it is. So it's about managing your time. Sometimes we'll begin to argue that, do I really have enough time? But think about maybe the time you spend on your social media handles. Hi, people. Are you with me? Think about the time that also you spend visiting, because if you are not intentional about time management, times will slip off. And at the end of the day, you cannot manage. Again, when also one other professor was presenting yesterday, she said something about somebody that was about missing the timeline and needed to like, what do I do with the rest of the 5 objects I haven't analyzed and all that. It settles with time management. If you are intentional about your time management, on a daily basis, you ask yourself, what are the essential things to be done? What are the things that are not too essentials? And how much time am I allocating to each one? So what we are saying that if you're not intentional about time management, so many things will go, and these are skills. If you acquire this as a skill, remember what we say, they are portable. They can move with role. If you think that it's about giving excuse that the workload on me is so much, even when you have a lighter load, you may not deliver. Because it has become part of you not to be conscious of your time and all that. Okay? So you may have so much to do, even in the course of this workshop and all that. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, while you're doing your networking, you can quickly send one email or the other. It's just because you've already itemized the things that needs your attention on a daily basis. So what we're saying that these transferable skills are so key, they are so important. There are things that will make us efficient. There are things that can make us to deliver. And we need to incorporate time management in what we do. Obviously, there are moments that we may be overwhelmed with a number of things, but that will not be our story. Let me also tell you that when we keep making excuses about things, it doesn't make us better. Excuses doesn't make us right. So what is important that people like success stories. So what can we do at every point in time to have the success story to share? So digital literacy, mastering emerging tools for data, publishing, and communication. Yesterday, I was a bit protesting when the professor from statistics was, when he did his presentation, and I was like, you mean you cannot illustrate, even if it's just one of that, because sometimes people visualize more, people pick, I mean, for want of time and maybe the environment, people cannot connect their system and all that. But it's essential for us to know that the digital world is fast evolving. And there are so many things that you may think that you know, but you don't know. So if you are an early career, it's also important that you open your eyes to so many things. It's not about that, well, that's not my area. I didn't study ICT and all that. I can do the much. No. But you need to be up there. There are so many things that you can even learn from your undergraduate student. The very first time I heard about, for those of us that work with secondary data, mining data is not something that you just do without being guided. Sometimes you struggle. Even when you may have watched it over and over and over and over, then when you get there, and then sometimes you get, so sometimes you need this Gen Zs to also guide you. And we should take advantage of that even in the course of lecturing. I remember one of the days I was it was an undergraduate class, and I was teaching, and I made a comment. I said that we don't have to spend, the lecture was meant to be for 2 hours. I told them that we are not going to spend 2 hours. I'm going to give them an hour 30 minutes because there's something pressing that I need them to do as a group, which is not part of the lecture. Sometimes I go out of the content to also drive the message, because the issue is, the most important is that, are you really communicating? You should look at the faces of your student when you're teaching and know whether they are still assimilating or you're just ticking the box. So I told them that I have something exciting to display. I always teach with a projector. So I told them that they should put on their phone and let's go to Yahoo Finance. They looked at me. I said, yes, Yahoo Finance. I said, how many of you guys are Yahoo boys now? So they laughed. I said, you're Yahoo boys. They said, no, ma, we are not. I said, okay. Do you know that from the Yahoo Finance, there are deposits of data, daily data, not when you're handling certain topics and you're still giving us analyzed data, whereas you can get day-to-day data from Yahoo Finance. I told them that I stumbled into that. I tried to figure it out, how to access data, but it was a bit challenging. I told them, let's get there, and they moved. In less than 10 minutes, we were able to resolve that. And they were like, wow. And I now told them, for project writing, we must deal with daily data. And it's not about looking at CBN statistical data or to look at maybe outdated data and all that. If you're doing something on cryptocurrency and all that, means that you have to obtain the data. These are live data. So there are so much we can do. That's why I said communication can be like that act of speaking in tongue to your audience. You speak in the language they will understand. You speak and you communicate. And when you do this, teaching and lecturing are quite exciting. They look forward to your class. They look forward to you being there. Remember, we describe them as portable and invisible trade. You're carrying them. That's not the topic you're doing. That's not the topic you're offering them. Whatever is your topic is there. But because you have those transferable skills, you're delivering in a different way. Hi, people. Okay, so we'll move on. So again, emotional intelligence, understanding and motivating people you work with. Who do we work with? Early careers, mainly students. So I keep like making reference to students and all that, because that's my terrain. That's where I play. And I believe that's where many of us play. So if you are talking about understanding and, motivating people, what do you do to motivate your students? When one of the first speakers spoke, I was so touched because she said she was a bit unfortunate, but I don't want to call that being unfortunate, because she didn't have anyone loving her and guiding her. For me, it was a call. So that thing that you lacked, please make it happen in other people's life. I believe God wanted to speak to you in a different language. Okay, so don't see it as a lost opportunity. See it as, wow, those things are amazing. I didn't get the opportunity of having this. Therefore, I must make sure that that becomes my watchword. So in the class, you're looking at your student. You don't even know them. You don't even know them by their names. You can imagine how touchy it could be that you walked into the class and said, okay, Lizzie, how are you today? My goodness, you've won their hearts. Are we aware? So it's about emotional intelligence and all that. Sometimes you get their confidence. Sometimes when they come to my office, they speak the unspeakable. Things that you ask them, do we get your parents? But they say, no, ma, it's for your ears only. So we, as academics, we should preach and live what we preach. So it's not just enough for us to have gathered all the important networking, research, whatever thing. Where is your Areopagus, the field where you work? So what do you do with that? So I think this is where the transferable skills become so essential for us, that we can't leave this workshop without imbibing them, without collating them, without leaving them, putting them in our bags, in our hearts and everything. Okay, so when you have that emotional intelligence, you look out, you look at their faces, you look at their movement. Someone that is always like very gloomy in the class and all that, you look at, you say, this is unlike you. At the end of the lecture, you may like, okay. But again, you may begin to wonder, it's about population. How many of them will you look at? Yes, but at least, you know, information filters away and you keep like wondering. Yesterday where I was here, I think it was about the time that we were eating, I was with Prof. I told Prof there's a student that has actually been looking out for me. The whole of last week, I had the opportunity of being outside the country and she kept calling. So yesterday again, she called and I told her to come to this. She came there at the back where I was already enjoying my SEMO. So she said, my someone gave me your contact and I'm a law student. I said, a law student? I mean, I don't have any business with law. I mean, I'm a professor of finance. I'm banking and finance. So he said, someone gave me your referral and there are things that we want you to anchor for us. I said, okay, we can talk later. So it's about reaching out and impacting, okay? It's about also being who we should be. Right? When we encourage them to be all they should be, to be all they can be, we ask yourself the vital question, am I everything to them? We should be everything to all men. So emotional intelligence, understanding and motivating people you work with. And at this arena, we are talking to mainly academia and all that. So we know that the people that we work with are barely our students. Okay, so when we also do that, remember what I said, we may be challenged by the environment. There's no way you reach out to everybody, but when you impact 1, 2, 3, like good news is spread. They will come on their own looking out for you. Next slide, please. So why transferable skills matter? It helps us to unlock new horizons. So we are looking at it as unlocking new horizons because we're already somewhere. We've started so well, okay, but we are going to unlock. So when you're unlocking something, that means that if you're not intentional, that thing will come and pass. You won't even know. So you have to look out for it and say, I must discover you wherever you're coming. I'll make sure that you don't miss. I don't miss you. I'll make sure that, you understand? So let's see. Let's have the next slide, please. So academia is evolving. That's why we need to unlock it because we are saying that it's taking us to a new horizon. So AI-driven research to interdisciplinary teaching, transferable skills make you adaptable. That's the fundamental word there is adaptability. It makes you adaptable. It will be shocking to note that in my university, for instance, the university provided for us a Turnitin, a plagiarism software, but I bet you some of my colleagues and even senior members of the university do not even know. So the student will write with AI, submit to you, you read, grade, and then you won't even have any impact because you don't even know that some of those things are inexistent. So in AI-driven world, will you remain the way you are? Will it be as it was in the beginning? So shall it be? It's only God that is that. Will keep transforming. So you need to be knowledgeable. You need to have this information. You need to move so that you appreciate, so that when they are bringing this, you say, oh, no. Yes, I understand. I excuse you. During our time, the AI was not there. We struggled to read. Now that is within your own time. I'm not going to say you're not going to use it, but then I'm going to teach you the right way to use it. AI should be an enabler. So you teach you how to use it so that you use it in the right direction. Okay? So now that this academia is evolving and a number of things, so will you remain the way you are? Obviously not. You need to move. Okay? This is why we need to pay attention to these skills, these transferable skills. Okay? They enhance research impact, the ability to communicate your work beyond academic journals to policymakers, the media, or the public. Okay, so we are saying that when we get the skills and we talk about using it to communicate our research, It makes you visible. Yesterday, one of the key persons that spoke yesterday also spoke about your social media handles, your LinkedIn as a professional. What are the content of your LinkedIn? What are the things that you paste, your research outputs, and all that? We do so much, but we make so very little noise. Okay? If you do not say I am, nobody will say thou art. All right? So you need to do that. You need to make yourself visible. Do the work and make the noise. Right? So it's only when you push them out there that people will look at it and then they will read. They will say, wow, here comes the great professor. In him will have the knowledge. Hi, people. So we move on. So again, they open doors to collaboration, funding bodies. Today, value team science, not loan scholarship, because we are saying that when we have these transferable skills, we will be able to work as a team. And even for people that give the fund, the funders and all that, they want to see youth, okay, a collaboration of knowledgeable people. And you can only do that when you have acquired that. If you are the person, the type that you are actively into research, beautiful, but then if your research ends up just on the shelf, okay, we are saying that we do not want the type of old knowledge that ends up in the bookshelf. We are talking about innovative knowledge that can impact, knowledge that can change lives. So when you do all the research and do all the findings and it's not helping anybody, you have published 20 Thomson Reuters, kudos to you. What has that done to, in terms of transforming and also modeling the young ones? So you pick their lecture notes for the people that are having the same course this year again, nothing has changed. And they will keep recycling your lecture notes and all that because you don't make effort to improve. All right? So we need to leverage on that, because when you make efforts to prepare your lecture deliveries and all that, you are looking at recent information. You are looking at the changes. You are looking at the narratives and all that, and you're building and you're developing. And in the course of doing that, making that effort, you're actually equipping yourself. So that transferable skill that you're imbibing them, you're picking them, and we're saying that is because you're intentional about them. So invest in continuous learning. For some of us, we've gotten our PhD or they've gotten to the professoral cadre, good riddance to bad rubbish. It was good while it lasted. We have struggled. Okay, we have run the race, and now we need to take the crown of glory. Hi. So it shouldn't be like that in academy. So we keep struggling. There are so many online short courses that we can take. Go to Coursera, Udemy, and all that. It's only when you begin to ask for certification that may begin to ask you to pay. If not, they are free. Free online courses. And then you keep like, okay, you remain afloat. You remain afloat. So it's essential. We'll get into that. There are key ones like take short courses on data analysis. At this stage now, you mustn't really, maybe very simple study that you've done, you're looking for somebody to analyze the data for you. Come on, why now? When you can actually do this and then you own the work and give it all the attention. I'm not saying that giving out your work for analysis is not right, but sometimes if you're doing it because you don't have the time or because your hands are full and all that, they are two different things. But you're like, relying on someone. If the person wake up and said, well, I'm not interested again, that's the end of your work, because you don't know how to go from where to where. It's just like you've opened a fashion house as a seamstress and you don't know how to make clothes. You didn't bother to learn, and you employ these, we do apologies for those of you that are from Ivory Coast. They say they are wonderful. And they wake up one morning and, it's Christmas time and wedding and all that, and they said this clothes, they said, we are not interested in working for you again. What will you do? At least let's have these pockets of knowledge and information, because it's a click away. So digital tools, there are things that you can't even toy with. If not, the Gen Zs will mess you up. They are the jet age. Is their age. They are the ICT generation. So you need to struggle. Even if it's a struggle, you keep like moving with them. You may be moving at your own pace, but please don't just stand still. So project management is a hidden asset in academia. Of course, we know that. So stay current with technology. Digital competence is now a survival skill. It's a survival skill for us. It's no longer a matter of, am I really interested or what do I really need it for? Conference participation improves networking. Hi. We are already taking advantage now, are we not? So let it not just end with this. Keep asking ourselves, so what's the next one? Which other conference and all that? So let's keep exploring. It's essential. Let's have our next slide, please. So let's commit to growing not just as scholars, but as versatile thinkers, innovators, and leaders. That's the call. That's what we are saying. We've started well as academia, as researchers, but we are saying, can we also advance? Your research is important, very essential. Nobody is undermining the output of your research. That's not what we are saying. Your research is important, but beyond your research output, your ability to connect. Okay? Your ability to connect. So how do you connect? Your ability to communicate. How do you do that? To create solutions beyond your discipline. You see why networking becomes essential. Your degree opens the door. Your transferable skills, keep it open. It's not just enough to open the door. You're already here. So when the door is already opened, we need to let it remain open, so that many other opportunities will learn this morning is identifying mentors and collaborators. Sometimes these things are not carved on stone. Sometimes these things doesn't have a regimented formula. But sometimes we can give an advice. Sometimes if we follow it this way, it may give us a better result. But however you wish to move on with that, because I mean, I'm sure we've not had this lecture. We have not had this presentation, but many of us have actually gotten into collaboration, meeting up with mentors and all that. Some of these things are a bit natural. Sometimes you ask yourself, if you have a new baby, do you really take time to ask the baby to, oh yeah, begin to crawl? This is how you crawl. So some of these things are just there. So somehow we meet people and then we align, but we can always give a professional advice that if we follow this, if we follow it in this pattern, it may give us a better result. We may benefit more from that. That's just all we're trying to say. Okay, so we move on. So identifying mentors and collaborators. Do you need a mentor? Is a question that you must be honest with. It's a question that you need to ask yourself and find an answer. Not because you've been in a workshop and they're talking about mentor, and you don't feel that, do I really need one? I'm self-sufficient, I'm all-knowing and all that. Getting one may not be essential. So you need to convince yourself that you need one. And if you need one, why and how? In what areas? Because the dimension of the mentorship that I may require may not be the same with you. I may need so many things, like I may have issue with communication. I don't even teach well. I can't even present in the class. Do you think my headache should not be how to research and publish when I have not done the primary assignment? I may want to begin to look for mentoring in area of people that can deliver their lectures very well. I said, sir, please, how do you do this? Do you take ogogoro before you appear the class so that you fight? I mean, there won't be stage fright and all that. So you look at a number of things. So the first thing to identify is that, yes, I need it. And if you need it, why? And then in that area so that you begin to like. And we are saying that because those people are carrying their laptops and are trying to say something about that. Mentoring these days, it mustn't really be the person in your own environment, physical. I mean, what are we talking about? Acquiring digital skills and all that. You can actually get people across the globe to mentor you. Okay? It mustn't just be in your own institution. It mustn't be in your department. It mustn't be in your faculty. They can cut across every jurisdiction. Right, let's move on. So no one climbs the mountain of academia alone. Very essential. That's why I said it all depends. However you need it, in what area that you need it, but somehow I believe that we all need to have one. Every successful academic story you admire has invisible traits of mentorship and collaboration moving into it. Listen to other people. There are so many things that you're already picking. It's not like they've said, okay, agenda for today. You watch their body language, you watch a number of things, and then tomorrow you see yourself dramatizing, like those of us that like to dramatize on stage. Sorry about that. So we move on. So in academia, a mentor is more than an advisor. They are your compass. I know what's a compass. So they are like your compass. They share wisdom that took them years to gain and help you see beyond immediate struggles. I mean, sometimes there are things that no matter how deep you read, you cannot get that. No matter how deeply exposed you imagine, when Prof was speaking, I said, that's an iroko in the industry because he was sharing freely wealth of knowledge from his personal experience. Some of these things are not things that he sat down the whole of the night to read. He has interacted with people. That has actually also influenced his perception about life. So tomorrow, if you tell him that, okay, well, I'm going to do a consultancy service to this particular firm, he will look at you and say, yes, sit down, my daughter, let's talk. And the things that he will share with you, I bet you read and read and read, you won't get those experiences because sometimes there are words of experience that people gather by being who they are and being in existence. So these are the opportunities we will benefit by getting into this. So like they share the knowledge that we say that you can't just get. I mean, this thing took them years to build and you're just benefiting from that. Let's have our next slide. Okay, so you can see that illustration like a path, a long journey. I don't know, you can make out from it, just like the same thing that sometimes we'll create an abstract that will ask you, think about it and what can you make out of it. I'm sure if we have the time and ask people to write about that, we are going to have different series of presentation, a lot of explanation, a lot, I don't know, so much that people can say. Just that illustration, it may communicate differently to you, it may communicate differently to your next person and all that. People will look at it and interpret it differently. And I don't know, but I'm seeing there a long journey. I'm not even seeing the end of it. I don't know whether you're seeing the end of it. To tell you that it's not something that you just start and say, I've mastered it and okay, I'm fine. It's a long journey. And it also doesn't look straight. In my eyes, I don't know about you. What are you seeing there? Like I said, different interpretation. It will be like the 12 blind men that went to see an elephant. You may know the story. 12 blind men went to see an elephant and they came out with different stories. Depends on where they touched. For one, an elephant is a very hard object because apparently it touched the skull. And the other one, an elephant is a very thin, long tail because maybe it touched the tail. For the other one, an elephant is a very massive object, depends on where they touch. So for you, okay, in talking about mentoring, collaboration, and you're looking at that, what does that say to you? So your career is not a ladder. It's a landscape. You are not just climbing up, you are exploring paths and discovering your own direction. You are being guided, but you're discovering your own direction. You can never be exactly like your mentor and whatever. You are who you are. And don't make the mistake of that. Where we have issues, where you try to be who you are not. If you look at your 5 fingers, they are not equal. We will always have top flyers. But even in having top flyers, we'll have middle players. And they're all accommodated. Right? So you don't need to kill yourself because you want to be like your mentor. It's a good thing to aspire to be like your mentor, but we are saying sometimes we also do not, just like, again, Prof, I'm taking a lot from your presentation this morning. He spoke about a student, he will start a program here, he said, okay, maybe the issue will be the professors here are wicked, he will move. He enrolled into another place, he said, okay, they are being tribalism here, so he moved, and all that, without looking inward to find out where the problem is coming from. Okay, so we are saying you must be who you are, but you're being helped, you're being guided, and you keep developing. Where do we have a problem and where we have challenges? When we stop making efforts. So long as we keep struggling and making effort and moving in the right direction, we'll keep like achieving success stories. So you need to discover your own direction and all that, being guided. Let's have our next slide, please. So a good mentor does these powerful things so that you know what you should expect from your mentor. They are powerful things. There are so many things, but like this, like a bit of summary. So open doors, how? So they expose you to opportunities, which ordinarily you might never find on your own. The grants, because they've been there. Sometimes also when you write. I remember some years, couple of years back. So you know how you're a bit excited that you're doing it. You have been able to publish the first paper, publish the second paper. You now feel that, I mean, what's there? We are good to go. So I saw the call. It was on a research grant and all that. So I wrote, feeling so like on top of it. I mean, we've done it before. We'll do it again and all that. So I was shocked when I received a negative one, and the response was a bit disturbing, because one of the things they asked me is that there was no indication of similar projects I've handled in the past, and why they should entrust such a huge amount. You understand the point I'm trying to make here? So the next time I saw a similar call, I ran to my PhD supervisor, who is in Netherlands. Some of you may know him, Professor Chuche. I went to him, I said, Prof, there's a call. And he said, okay, we'll look at it and then we'll see how we go about it. And at the end of the day, maybe just by having his name there, we were able to get that. It was the same effort that I did, but what am I trying to communicate? I'm trying to say something essential here, okay? In academic terrain, it's important for you to pay your dues. It's essential, okay? And what do I mean by paying your dues? People may not entrust huge, because also the identity is unknown. So sometimes also we need to step on their toes to climb. Am I answering the question whether we need a mentor? I asked the question and providing the answers. So we are saying that with them, they can also expose us to collaborations and link us and all that. So they offer guidance. They help you navigate research design to publication strategy, just like what we've been doing here and all that. So many people are testifying that if not for the exposure, maybe they didn't even know that they weren't getting it right. They felt that we are struggling, we are doing well enough and all that. So sometimes when they reject, he said all these white people, they segregate, it's racist. It's a lie. It's not any racist anything. So we move on. The next slide, please. So a mentor helps you see further than your experience allows. Yeah, because you're limited in exposure. So identify the right mentor. Remember what we say that it's not carved on stone, how best to go about that. But we're just giving professional advice. If you follow this route, it may give you a better outcome for some reason. So start with a relationship, not a request. It's always good to start with a relationship. Try to establish a relationship with someone and all that. Yeah, because the person sees it deeper. Okay, and sometimes I remember also speaking to one of the top professors who happens to be a relation. And so each time I reach out to her and I call her, I address her by the name, Auntie. I said, Auntie, he said, do your research. I don't carry passengers. You understand what I mean? When you say I don't carry, not that he doesn't want to help, but he also wants you to come up with ideas, and that's actually what makes you strong. Okay, so we are saying that it's good to start with a relationship, not don't start by asking, will you be my mentor? And he said, okay, and that's the end. Then you go home and you're waiting for mentoring, and mentoring doesn't start. You now say, this conference and workshop thing is a scam. It's not. So that's why we say you start with a relationship. If we start with a relationship, there are so much you want to share with me, and there's so much you want to take from me in that natural form. Then we become to discuss your, my time is up. Okay, so we'll start to, I think I'm running off. We'll start discussing a number of things, advice sharing and all that. Okay, so let's have the next slide. Let's run fast. Okay. So identifying you might have one mentor for research, another for teaching, for career development. I've already said that. So let's move on, please. Let's move on. So you need to diversify your mentors. One person can actually also fit in all that, but if you can get different options and all that, why not? You can have more than one. Please, So mentorship is mutual, very important, please. This is very essential, because when it's not mutual, you won't benefit a lot from that. And what do I mean by that? As you are being mentored, you also have something to give. You can share new perspective, digital skills, just like what I said. The trick I use in the class. Okay, I didn't want to say, okay, you people come and teach me how to harness data, but then it becomes a mutual thing. Some of them, they've then had it for the first time, and then we're able to unravel a number of things. So you have something to also offer. Okay, if you're coming to a professor that is maybe about retiring 68 and all that, and he is supervising you, you can always say, Prof, do you know the letters and all that? With all ears and all whatever. So you have a lot to give. Have that at the back of your mind. And also begin to think, as I'm learning now, many of us are in the classrooms. At least you meet, you may not have started supervising postgraduate. What of the undergraduates? So is there a way you can let this information that you're collecting here trickle down? Is there a way you can also pass that? That's already mentoring of some sort. So learn to give back. Let's move on. So collaboration, why? Because there are complex problems in the world. Okay, climate issues, digital finance, and a number of social inequalities and all that. We need to come together and collaborate. Let's move on, please. We don't have time. Move to the next slide. So identifying and building collaboration. In today's academic world, the most cited papers, the most funded projects, the most influential ideas often come from a collaborative team. Check them, look at them, and you now see that they worked as a group. So we need to, we always say that no one has the deposit of knowledge alone. So meet with people and collaborate. Let's move on. When you can't, is essential. Your mentor should be able to see the potential. When you're saying, I'm not even sure, I don't think I can do that. The mentor believes in you and is pushing you and is encouraging you. Say, no, go on, I'm sure. I have that confidence. Remember what we said at the beginning, starting with a relationship. So you're not a stranger to the person. Those things that you cannot see, the things that you don't, just like you have your own children. You say, Mommy, I don't know if I say, no, I know you. Am I not your mother? Move on, I'm sure you will do it. Go ahead. That's actually what you should be. So there must be a relationship. Okay, the next slide, please. Activity. Okay, remember we started with a topic, building transferable skills before we get to mentor and collaboration. And when you finish teaching and there's no take home and there's no practical activity, sometimes they leave the lecture for you in the classroom. I don't know whether you've noticed that. They will drop it for you there and they walk away, JJ. So I don't want us to walk away, JJ, because I'm not a comedian. I'm not sweating here for nothing. Hence, we are going to do something. So 3 transferable skills you already possess. I may not have the opportunity because Prof will not allow me to move around and market. Ordinarily, I would have moved around to market. But then just try to answer the question yourself. Think about that. What are those transferable skills that you know, that you've already possessed? Okay? Identify them for yourself. 3. When you've done that, 2 you want to develop this year. Don't let this year pass. So you add it. 3 that you've already have, plus 2. Make sure you do it too. It's binding on us. It's a contract. Okay? So you need to also look at this. 2 that you need to develop this year because they are essential. Because we are saying that they are portable. You move with it. Even when you want to leave the academy, even when you want to, I don't know, to any other environment, in the industry, in a policy and all that, you speak and your voice will be heard because you have the skills. All right, let's have the next slide. And okay, so I'm saying let us connect. So when you get that, those are my online presence, because I think I have an active online presence. I do a lot of things with my undergraduates online and all that. So because when we talk, we'll live what we preach. So when you encourage them to get into transferable skills, tell them to register their online presence so that they will be very active. You also need to be active so that they will know that what you're saying is not just one of those fairy tales. When you tell them that out there, when they do a lot, they will be noticed. Many of them will come back and say, do you know, I said this at the beginning, we've been hired and all that. So that's why I said, let's connect. And if we all agree, the next slide will say, thank you so much for being part of my presentation.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I believe we have take home from the 2 presentations. So we'll take questions. If you have questions, 1, to just 2 questions for any of the speakers. So 1, 2, 3. So we'll just take the 3. Please, the mic to number 1. And you tell us who you are directing the question to. Who among the speakers? Yes.
My name is Dr. Favor Oyo from Godfrey Okoye University. I have 2 questions and 1 recommendation. The question goes to the first speaker. I want to thank the 2 speakers.
Professor Ajayi, the question is for you, please.
I really want to thank the 2 speakers for work. That was really it's a lot. I want to ask this: how can one strategically position themselves to attract consultancy opportunities in their field?
Okay, how can one attract consultancy field
and even into
in their
policy?
field? Okay. Professor Ajayi, I hope you are listening to the question. Please speak very quickly.
Okay. And as a university lecturer, how can I remain relevant and contribute meaningful to the Ministry of Technology without being the traditional civil servant career path?
Okay.
Okay, so the recommendation, I actually raised my hand yesterday. So I wasn't recognized because of time. So I want to recommend that we have made a lot of agreement decisions here. I want to recommend that a communique be drafted and sent out to relevant parties, relevant bodies, scientific bodies, WhatsApp groups, especially concerning that authorship issue. We should, whatever we agree here, we should draft a communique and spread it to social media, spread it to go a long way. Address some of these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The second, number 2. Number 2.
Thank you. Firstly, I want to appreciate the 2 speakers. The first thing, before me, will go to Professor Ajayi. And it's not a question really, but I just want his thoughts, because there have been a lot of heated arguments around this relating to researchers should move from publishing to problem solving. And Prof also emphasized that in his presentation. And people also talk about researchers, established researchers going to the industrialist, going to industry to transform the findings into product and things like that. But anytime things like that come up on any platform, you see some people arguing for and arguing against, in the sense that you see them talking about is the people in the industry that should come to us as researchers and present their problems, and present where they need solutions. Some will say, oh, it is the researchers that should go to the people in the industry and try to provoke and try to say and all that. So I want his thought regarding that. Okay. Who should go to who, and how do we go about that? Okay. And then the second one has to go to our prof. And it has to do with the last part of your presentation on collaboration. We see this still happening in our various universities, at least most of our universities. I don't know, to some extent, that even when it comes to AP promotion and assessment, I mean, associate maybe from SL to AP, and AP to full chair, you will still see assessors within our universities still mandating that 40% of your publication submitted for assessment must have 40% first authorship. Is that not killing the spirit of collaboration? When I'm going to a professorial cadre, of course, a senior, more senior cadre, and you still expect me to be struggling for first authorship, or I'm going to AP, and you still want me to be struggling for first authorship. Some universities are still practicing this. Is it ethical, unethical? And then maybe Prof can also say one or two things, and also you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, make it brief because of time. Who is it? Number 3? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Dr. Chigozodum from University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Tourism Department. The first question is for Professor, the Vice Chancellor. I just want to ask, based on my current experience, tourism unit, Ministry of Tourism, Anambra State, once in a while, they come to me, they do pay me for the consultation, but there's something that normally happens. I don't know how it come about. There are times they will request things from me, and demand is urgent. I will submit. They will not communicate to me again. Somebody will execute the job. Well, it's so frustrating. I will give an instance. This year, they called me in February, and it's a 3-day job. A day is 100K. That means I was expecting 300,000. Now, after the first day, I know what happened second and third day. Then, for the thing to progress, nobody consulted me anymore. And I have an insider there who asked me what happened. Nobody is calling you again. I say, I don't know. That's on one side. So please, how do I balance this? Because it's really affecting me. Because as a senior lecturer, my next move should be for professor, either associate or full professor. And in UNN, our case is usually different. It's very demanding. Very, very. This issue of collaboration people are talking about, I don't want to go into the nitty-gritties here. But that's why I do. So please, how do I balance this? Because it's really disturbing me. Then for the last mommy that talked about collaborators, there's only one thing I want to add. It's a very good thing you brought this, because I have my PhD supervisor. She's in Calabar. We still talk till date after 5 years. Now, I want to suggest that when you're collaborating or when you're looking for mentors, don't try to wait when you have something, then you go. It doesn't usually make sense, because at times you find those things maybe 3 days to the closure, and the person is busy and you'll be requesting for reference. If there is no that cordial relationship that the person understands you, seriously, the person will tell you, okay, I will do it and will forget about it. I will use myself as an example again. In the course of my PhD, my supervisor will always say, Jude, what do you mean when you want to do reference? As in, I was still a student then. So I never understood what it means to ask about how your day was and all that. So I learned then how to send maybe this new month SMS once in a while. Mommy, how are you? He said, Jude, why are you disturbing me? She will say, why are you disturbing me? But she likes that you are communicating. Why do I say so? I applied for AHP last year. 3 days to close, and I requested for reference. He said, Jude, you don't come again. But she did it. 3 days to what? Closer. So try to maintain cordial relationship. It will really help. Rather that the other way around. Even this platform, I think I did that in some spam mail, and I just clicked on it because there's no need for reference or whatnot. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Very important. So our speakers will respond. Please, very briefly.
I'm surprised that we're asking about this. All research is meant for problem solving. No research is meant to serve our purpose as researchers. All research. And that's why some of you who are active on Netherlands fellowship program, there's what they call development-oriented research. I think that is because of the disconnect that we have. Industry derives whatever they do from what we find. So, and you see, all of us, we are in paper presentation, it was written about what is the essence of it. We may not take our research to product development level, but industry, all the things, whether we are doing basic should be to unravel quite researchable constraints that should lead to that. So there's no problem about working with industry. I am in seed science. What is the essence of all that I do? We have the National Agricultural Seed Council. I've been associated with them since 1988, and I've been a consultant till today. I was instrumental to their moving from Ibadan to Abuja, and I made sure that I relate with them. Training, doing all kind of things for them. There are things that they cannot do. When they were going to develop capacity, the DG approached me. That year, I think I mentioned that I graduated about 7 PG students, 3 PhD, 2 MPhil, 2 MSc. And he said he wanted to hire all of them. And I said, no, it's not possible. I trained some of them for the department. So, and That's the kind of collaboration that exists. They are looking for partnership in area of capacity development, equipment and infrastructure. So all of us need to identify what industry is relevant to our own skills. There are things that they cannot do on their own. We have the flexibility of tweaking our methodologies. Industries don't do research. Their own is into product development. They have this and they are going straight. But I gave the example, I think yesterday, for my PhD. I got to Germany and I said, I want to work on physiology and biochemistry of seed quality, biochemical basis. And my supervisor said, okay, let's go to seed company. And we traveled from Braunschweig to the northern part. We got there. The company said, sorry, we don't do seed production here in Germany. Our headquarters for seed research is in Austria. So we took vehicle 1,000 kilometers. We drove to Austria. When we got there, they said, okay, good, fine. These two hybrids, Bernicia and Ula, they are the most profitable hybrids in Europe and Asia. But 40% of it that we produce, we throw away. What's the problem? And they asked me, what do you need? So I had to design an experiment and everything. And I came back with the fact that it's a source-sink relationship. The capacity of the sink was smaller than that of the source. So when the materials are being mobilized to the seed, at a point they develop stress cracks. And some of them will burst like popcorn. So when they were doing the breeding, they bred high photosynthetic capacity, but low storage capacity for the kernel. That was basically the thing. So, but all they knew was, so each and every one of us, of course, many of them may not approach us, but we need to make ourselves relevant to the industry. That's number one. Okay. So I think I've answered the first and the second about consultancy and making ourselves relevant. Let me correct something as Vice Chancellor. Many of us call ourselves AP. It is alien to the Nigerian university system. And when you call yourself an associate professor for leadership, you are downgrading yourself. It's equivalent to somewhere between senior lecturer and it's not even up to. If you go and read American Association of Professors, you will see there. In the American system, you are either a postdoc, assistant professor, associate professor. Assistant professor is equivalent to lecturer 2 here. After 5 years for lecturer 2, you move to assistant associate professor. Are you yet a senior lecturer in Nigeria? From lecturer 2. Some of our universities have imbibed it. At the level of committee of vice chancellor, we address it. In my university, if you apply, you say, I have applied for the position of associate professor. I will throw your application away. I won't, because we don't have any position like that. In the Nigerian system, what we have is senior lecturer, reader, professor. Reader is higher than, in some universities, especially South Africa, reader is equivalent, you know, in South Africa, they have graded professor. It's not just one. So please, if you are moving from senior lecturer to reader, you are more than associate professor. But many of us don't like to be called reader. We want professor to be there. I am in the professorial cadre. How do you mean you are a reader when you are not a lay reader? So please, let's all, and I call everyone, your research must find relevance in the society, in the industry. I think the pharmaceutical people, she's in a better position to talk about that than me in the agri. But the industries are looking, they are looking for us. Lastly, one of the major problems that we've had is the question of trust. They've trusted us with money. They've trusted us with grants. And people have abused that privilege. But once they trust you, once you demonstrate integrity, even when it's not in your discipline, they will do what? They will call you. Those who are in language, you will always find relevant. They are doing conferences, all kind of things. I've done training for people from nearly all countries of West Africa in seed quality assessment. I had to go and hire interpreters because some of them are from Francophone and all this thing. And so either translating both. So there is no one who does not have something. But because we are disconnected from the academia, something. Prof will speak more to that.
We have a question online. Prof.
For him, it's actually an acknowledgement. The question is actually to her.
Okay. So we hand over to Prof.
But let me just read it so that you can address everything.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Prof, for your impactful presentation. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Sajai. You're the one being ratified here. Then, thank you, Prof, for your presentation. Yes, indeed, Nigeria needs us. I would like to lend my voice that we need more passionate mentors across board. However, we also need mentees who are highly motivated and keen about showing serious commitment, diligence, and resilience on what they do or assigned to do. Please, what is your take on this?
Okay. About mentees that are dedicated, right? Okay, first and foremost, I believe in impacting, giving, and then I wait for results, right? Yeah, it all depends on someone's background. Some people had it rough all through, and this is where emotional intelligence comes in. So you don't rule out from first contact that, this person cannot be what you need. Let's do the little that we can, and then make effort in transforming. Sometimes we always have good results. That's my belief, and it has worked. Okay. So the other question is on collaboration. It's a very passionate one, and I must agree with you. But I want to share a different view altogether, and that helped me. And I want you also to listen. It may also help you. Yes, when you're in a system, let's say when you get to Rome, you behave like the Romans. If this is the norm in your institution, you can't run away from it. But beyond that, the key question you ask yourself, who do you want to be? Is a very important question. I ask myself that question every day. Who do I want to be? Now, I'm working with people as a team, collaboration, and my university, they are telling me that if you're not the first author or the corresponding author, that may not count for you. Does that mean that I have lost all that I put? Assuming, sincerely speaking, I participated in writing the paper. I think the university came up with this because they know that there are a lot of passengers. So it's in a state, in a situation that they want to handle this. Let's make sure, because you're moving to an important level in your career. Professional cadre is not a mean thing. So we cannot close our eyes and give someone that is just being carried along this post. If you have participated actively in that paper, why would you not be the first author or the corresponding author? A big question for all of us to take home. Again, I see it beyond a collaborative work. I see it as an opportunity. Because each time I have opportunity of working with people as a team, you learn a lot. And who said you cannot develop other single papers just for you to meet up with the demands of the university? What we are talking about sometimes about 4 Thomson Reuters or all that. And you can do more than that when you have worked extensively well with other team. Ideas will come, right? And at the end of writing the group work, you can initiate another paper because you are targeting your promotion. Let me quickly say this, and this is what I always tell my postgraduate students. Let us not be driven by promotion, please. We should do more than that. It's about who you are. It's about the impact you make. It's about who you are trying to become, because we're saying your degree has already opened the door, but your skills will keep it open. Thank you.
Put our hands together for her. She has made a very, very important point. And I tell you, if we start as early career researchers, in fact, by the time you are getting to professorship, you should be at the back, not at the front anymore. Okay? Because if from the beginning you imbibe that culture of initiating papers and all that, you will have the required percentage. Then it is better for you to publish in a high impact factor. For instance, in my university, the quality is ranked from 1 to 5. It is better you are 5th author in a paper with a score of 5, rather than being the first author or the only author in a paper that is ranked as 2. Do the mathematics. So please don't let us get discouraged. Collaboration and having good quality paper should be paramount. And then, if you love what you do, you are lucky now. promotion is as at when due. During our time, they are bringing out, this is 2025, they are bringing out 2022 promotion out now. Yes. Professor Ajayi, yeah. 3 years behind. None of the promotion I put in for was for 2 years. It was more than 2 years. So it will say they are calling for 2022 promotion in 2025. So it is, what do you have as at that 2022? Do you understand? And so if you do not have the habit of working consistently, and I tell you, in all my promotion, there was none that I say I wanted to put, share the one that is backdated. You know, so you can't, you know, so if you have been working consistently, and they said, I became a professor in 2008, they say, they are calling for 2008 promotion in 2010. I said, okay, how many papers do I have as at that time? Am I ready to go? I saw that, yes, it can go, and I put in. So now you are lucky, everything is done to time. So let us plan our career. Let us be intentional. Thank you very much. I don't want to take so much of your time. I want to appreciate our view. No, please, we will continue. I want to appreciate the participants online. We value you. Please, let's put our hands together for them. You're consistent. Some of them have been very consistent throughout. Some have even reached out to me during the course of this program. We'll go for a very short, very short coffee break. Just take your coffee, come back, and then we'll go into another powerful session. So please, let's go to the back so that we'll come back to listen to Professor Cynthia Ebeto, who will be talking to us about something very important, funding. Funding. And please, when we come back, we don't want anybody beyond half of that, of the hall. So please just take your snacks and come to the front. The photographers are complaining. They don't want us to be scattered. The program is online, where you have the book of abstracts, the program, all the presentations, and then the pictures also for day one. You just scan the barcode on your registration tag. It will lead you to the Google Drive. There are some very beautiful pictures there. Thank you.